let's just get the show on the road because we really don't have a lot of time. And I have a lot of juicy questions for our superstars. My name, in case you don't know, is Sandy Khan. You've got my LinkedIn on the platform, so you can check me out. And if you like what you see, do connect with me as well. But let's get down and actually introduce the superstars, the FinTech superstars. Okay, so our first star is Jakub. Now, Jakub, you're going to have to forgive me a bit. I think I asked you to do this last time as well. How do I pronounce your last name?
So it's Zakrzewski.
You did it so much better than me. I would have just failed. So, managing director at Kraken. Jakub comes with over a decade of experience, 6 years or so. I would say in the last 6 years or so, real senior expansion roles for high growth FinTech companies like Revolut. So amazing. And you know, Jakub, you realize, I'm sure you do, you're only a month away from your first year at Quaken.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
Well, I'm sure you blinked and it just went by. And what a year as well. Unusual one. Okay, the second superstar is Timo Meyer, general manager for the American market at N26. Now, Timo's profile made me smile on LinkedIn. It's very clean, right? Before N26, Timo was at Deutsche Bank in investment banking, and before moving on to N26, where I would say, Timo, the environment at N26 versus Deutsche Bank, so different, right? So you've gone from a very structured background to one that is very ambiguous, and the startup environment is so different. So it's a real shift, a cultural shift. But look at you, you're about a month away from your 5th year at N26. So they're doing something right. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
Half a decade at the company. And it also flew by. It flew by like 2020 did, I can tell you.
Yeah, it's funny how you mentioned it, the way it's half a decade. That's one way of looking at it, isn't it? And you'll be there for a full decade, I'm sure, because it's growing really fast. But we'll talk about that now. So let's move to the company. Tell us in a sentence, guys. Let's start with Jakub. You've got 10 seconds, Jakub, to tell us, what does Kraken do and how does it make money?
So Kraken is an established, safe and secure digital asset exchange based out of San Francisco in the US, with already more than 4 million users globally. And we allow our users to basically buy and sell all sorts of digital assets on our platform, and we are providing them the seamless experience and giving them the platform for doing so.
Brilliant. And Timo, you, in a sentence, what does N26 do and how does it make money?
Absolutely. So at N26, we're building a bank that the world loves to use. And what that means is that you can open and access a bank account completely from your smartphone and see how and in what kind of ways you're spending your money. At the same time, we're earning money through interchange revenue and actually the subscription revenue that we're making with the premium products that we're selling to our customers.
I love that mantra. The bank that the world loves to use. I'm going to reference that later, actually, in a question. I've got another question for you. Let's stick with you, Timo, and let's stick with numbers as well. Give us a snapshot of N26 in terms of numbers and percentages.
Absolutely. So the company was founded pretty much exactly 7 years ago, back in the day, with a slightly different vision, but that's when the founders kicked it off. Since then, we've been growing to more than 5 million customers. We're employing more than 1,600 employees, actually out of which are 40% roughly female staff, and we're from 80 different nationalities. And we are operating this business from 4 business hubs around the globe in Berlin, Barcelona, Vienna, and New York.
Whoa. Did you say 80% female?
No, 40% female, 80 different nationalities.
Right. Even 40% is pretty good for a tech company, you know. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. And Jakub, what's the growth like at Kraken in terms of numbers and percentages?
So Kraken has more than 4 million users, as mentioned before. We've been founded in 2011. We have 1,200 employees. And I think what is very distinct about Kraken is that we are remote first. So even before the whole pandemic, majority of our team members have been working remotely. So this is something that we're proves that we're not only visionaries when it comes to the future of money, but also the way that people will be working moving forward. So I think these are the most important numbers, and we are right now onboarding users from 190 countries globally. And as mentioned before, our headquarters is in SF in US.
Yeah, I like how you use that phrase, remote first, right? So yeah, I've seen companies use like mobile first, but it's interesting in terms of the talent pool as well. Like you now have the world as your talent pool. So I really like that. It's super smart. Let's stick with you, Jakub. We've just touched there on the companies, but let's talk about you, the man, and in a sentence, like 5 seconds, what is it that you do?
So I've joined Kraken as a managing director in Singapore, and I'm right now overseeing the strategic development for the company in the whole APAC region. Okay,
and so let's dive a little deeper. Give us one strategic deliverable and how is it measured as well?
So I think it's I can give you actually two. We've first of all, we have acquired Australian crypto exchange in the beginning of this year, and second of all, a couple of weeks back, Kraken has obtained his license in Japan from the Japanese regulator. So when it comes to my work, I need to ensure that we are as successful as possible when it comes to providing the best experience to the users in the region, and become the number one player when it comes to everything cryptocurrencies.
Awesome. Is the remit for you, Jakub? Is it APAC again, like it was at Revolut, or is it more? More good? Yeah.
No,
awesome.
yes, it's very similar as it was at my previous job.
Yeah, I can see why you're a veteran now for the APAC region, Singapore region. This is awesome and still so young. But let me ask Timo the same question. Timo, in one sentence, what is it that you do?
So I'm the GM for the US business of N26, and specifically within that role, focusing on our product design and tech teams and how we market our product in the States.
Okay, great. Like that nice succinct sentence. And so a little deeper then, one of your strategic deliverables and how it's measured.
Yeah, so I think also two key ones here. On the one hand, it's really around growing the business and measuring this with monthly active users. At the same time, also building a product that's relevant. And we're using on the one hand, the NPS, really how happy are our customers to see that, and also the adoption of the various products that we're offering in the market.
Awesome stuff. So I'm going to throw this one back to Jakub. Jakub, we've touched on the company, we've touched on your role. It all sounds amazing. The vision, the growth, the numbers, they sound cool. But what is actually keeping your C-suite, like Jess Powell? What is keeping Jess awake at night?
I think Jesse is a visionary when it comes to what is the future of money. And this is I think the mission that we're all trying to achieve at Kraken. So I think what keeps him awake, I would say that first of all, how to create a seamless experience when it comes to digital assets to our users. And second of all, I think one of the most important areas within digital assets and cryptocurrencies is the safety and security of the platform. So I think we are many times being seen as the most secure exchange globally among the biggest ones that are out there. So I think his focus is being the evangelist of the future of money and cryptocurrencies, and ensuring that we have a top-notch platform when it comes to user experience, as well as the safety and security of our clients' assets and the overall platform itself.
Yeah, we could do a whole session on security, cybersecurity alone, right?
That's true.
Yeah, maybe we will one day.
Yeah,
let me ask the same question. We should, right? I'll make a mental note of it. It's got in there. Same question for Timo. I think you have like 2 or 3 founders?
We have 2 founders, exactly. And I think what I would say constantly is keeping them awake at night is really prioritization, right? Banking is such a wide field and you could do so many things. And by now we're also in so many markets, right? Operating the business by now in really 26 different countries across the globe. So I think it really is a key question of what to do first, and specifically this trade-off between building a really good, brilliant product, which is delivering all of the basics, but then also where are the specific points where you can excel, like where you can be really innovative and where you can really stand out, differentiate yourself from both traditional competition, but also other players in the market.
Love it, love it. I found, Jakub, this interesting stat from the World Bank study. 31% of the world population, that's almost like 2.5 billion people, still don't have a bank account. So, I mean, the scope for growth here for fintechs like N26 and yourself is big. But not a lot of people like myself know a lot about Bitcoin. Okay, so if there were 5 facts that you could tell folks about the value and the impact of Bitcoin, what would they be? Just to demystify it for us.
Yeah, and we definitely could have a separate session on Bitcoin itself as well. But I think, on a very high level, I think Bitcoin right now is the most popular out of all the digital assets that are out there. Bitcoin is becoming something for the younger generation, what gold used to be for the older generation. Is a method of storing value and a hedge against the traditional monetary system. I think we have a very good example of that, where we are experiencing right now one of the highest prices of Bitcoin since I think 2018. In these very unstable times where governments are printing money like crazy, and Bitcoin is being seen as a safe haven, as a decentralized network that it's basically acting as a hedge against governments that are in control of the monetary supply. So I think this is on a very high level the most important facts about Bitcoin. And I think in general, Bitcoin, together with the underlying technology, is becoming more and more the future of money. We see governments that are going into introducing their own stable coins and using the underlying technology that is going to be making easier things like traceability, things like anti-money laundering, and many other things that are going to become more and more efficient, that are basically all coming from how Bitcoin has started and the overall network. So we could basically say that Bitcoin is at the forefront of the innovation, and it's changing what the money will look like in the future.
It sounds amazing, but when could you see someone like myself, Sandy Khan, open up a Bitcoin account
today? I'm sure after this discussion you'll open an account today.
I was actually thinking to myself, I need to go do some research because it actually sounds phenomenal, right? And there are lots of ethical reasons as well. I mean, I would encourage anyone on the call to go do a little bit of research. It's amazing. And I just scratched the surface. Let's stick with Quaken. I want to come back to Jess Powell, your CEO. He said something really nice. We are empowering people to live simply, efficiently, and more connected to others. What does he mean by that? Elaborate on what he means, because a lot of brands will say that we're empowering customers, but how are you doing it at Quaken? How are you doing it differently, and how are you doing it innovatively?
Yeah, I think when it comes to Kraken, it's all about financial freedom and being in charge of your own money. And I think this is all what Bitcoin represents, and what we are seeing as a future of money. I think what he meant was also delivering an amazing product, an amazing experience to our users when it comes to giving this platform and a great customer service. And he is an evangelist that wants to spread this word among different people, and also expanding this into new countries. So this is why, even though the company is started in the US, we've already expanded into Europe, already expanded into Japan, Australia, and there are more and more countries that we're having on our roadmap. And kind of in parallel to driving the business itself and expanding it globally, I think we also have this strong vision about educating our users about cryptocurrencies, not only Bitcoin, but also other ones, educating them about the market. And this is why, there are separate teams that are issuing publicly available reports about the market, about the latest trends when it comes to security, because we feel very strongly about it. We hire industry experts in these particular fields, and we want to empower users with and all people with this kind of knowledge, and tell them why we think cryptocurrencies are the future of money, and give them everything that is latest about the market and about the technology that is behind it. And as we mentioned, with a very strong focus on security.
Awesome. And Timo, let's stick with the customer and about making the customer feel loved there. So, as Jakub rightly said there, understanding the customer, offering them a seamless experience. This is how brands are winning our hearts and our loyalty as customers, by providing this seamless, personalized experience, almost like the omni-channel experience. So our expectations as customers, as tech-savvy customers, are pretty high now. And the market that you're focusing on in the States is pretty saturated. It's quite a busy market. So you have a mission here. You need to differentiate. You need to go and acquire new customers innovatively. How are you doing that?
So absolutely, and I would fully agree that on the one hand, it's definitely getting more crowded in the market. At the same time, the point that you mentioned around being really focused on delivering an individualized experience is super key. And plenty of examples I could give you. I think the one that really stands out for me is how we rethought the construct of a sub account, like how people are actually managing their money within the N26 app. So usually what you might be used to from your more traditional or legacy bank is a concept where there's a very kind of narrow setup of how you can create and move money between your main and your sub accounts. And I think what we learned by really closely listening to the customer and working with our research team and those early people who were so kind to give us this feedback is that really mental budgeting works in a way that you don't just have 3 accounts with 3 different numbers, but people, for example, think in goals they want to achieve and save for certain things. They think around having a little bit of buffer for security, something like an emergency fund. And then we went back and thought, okay, how can we create something that really caters to this kind of mental budgeting? And created N26 Spaces, which really allows you within the app in a drag and drop format to kind of push money between your separate sub accounts, and really also identify how you can save towards these accounts or spend from them. What we are now building is like we're making them open for also other people to join them, so that, for example, you and your husband, you and your wife could go out and share an account within the N26 app.
I love it. Now, you did mention there that sentence, N26 wants to build a bank that the world loves to use. And I really like that. But tell us, how will you achieve that vision, this global growth, this global picture, using new technology like AI in ways that the traditional banks cannot?
Yeah, so I think also there are multiple applications, right? And where AI is used in a lot of different ways, and it almost gets to something like a buzzword. I think you need to be really specific and like where you can get that value best to the customer. I think one of the things where we're really also, I think, in an advanced stage of also using AI is in our fraud prevention. So really separating the customers coming with a good and the ones that are coming with a bad intent. And what that in the end allows us is, for example, reducing our fraud costs significantly, and thereby also offering the rest of our product in a more cheaper way, in a fairly priced manner, which then again, coming back to a point of love, is obviously increasing the customer satisfaction if you can offer the same or even a better service than your competitors at a cheaper price.
Okay, let me touch on this profitability versus expansion, because we're living in interesting, very uncertain times at the moment. You've both spoken about global growth, but there are a lot of brands out there that are holding back. I mean, Timo, you're focusing right now on the US market, right? You've got products and services there that can grow. There's space there, but there's this vision to grow globally as well for both your brands. So let's just touch on that. What might it look like when we're in better times, especially in the emerging markets? And let me start with Jakub on that. Very succinctly, what kind of markets will you focus on?
So that's a good question, and we are, as a company, are trying to push the boundaries when it comes to growth and when it comes to developing or solving problems that no one else has solved before within the industry. You wouldn't call it an emerging market, but recently, in parallel to our Japan licensing, we are actually the first crypto exchange that obtained a banking license in the US. So we're going to be a SPDI in the state of Wyoming, and that is going to be allowing us to provide certain banking services across the country. So for us, when we're thinking about expansion, we're thinking about pushing these boundaries, like becoming a bank, as well as entering into new geos, like we've done in Australia, like we've done in Japan. And basically, the plan for us is to almost go region by region, and to see where are the problems, in which countries or regions there are problems that we're able to solve, and then double down and go directly into these markets. So we're thinking about it in the product capacity, where we are constantly adding new business lines, and as well geographical expansion and entering and hiring local teams in more and more countries.
Okay, so if I was to probe you, what might be your top 3 markets?
I think right now we are very strong in US and in Europe, and it's definitely my role to ensure that we are as strong or even stronger in APAC. So we're definitely going to be looking broadly at the whole region, and especially doubling down on the countries where we're already in, which is Australia and Japan. And I'm sure there'll be more news to come from us from the region.
Yeah, and congratulations on becoming the first cryptocurrency bank. That's the bank that I should open my account with.
Yeah, Kraken Bank. It's called Kraken Bank. Hopefully, yeah.
I love it. Right, and so let me ask the same question to Timo. So, Timo, the bank the world loves to use. What markets, what emerging markets will you focus on?
So I think the one key emerging market we're focusing on bigger pocket of expansion strategy. And I think in general, when we're approaching expansion, I think there are 2 key factors to consider. On the one hand, it's really around obviously the city, the size of the market that we can address. And then at the same time, it's also around complexity, like how complex would it be to open up a service and kind of come to ship and launch. That also really stood out to us. I think on the one hand, really the environment.
Okay, so let me move this on, because Timo, we've lost you a little bit. So I'm going to ask the next question to Jakub. Jakub, we've heard here that you're both focused on growth, which is great. You're a remote first company, which is awesome in terms of sourcing talent. Tell me, Jakub, what would make a good fit candidate stand out and win your love and attention? So what maybe the top 2 or 3 traits that they need to have to impress you?
And it's an interesting question, because as you know, when we last spoke, I actually hired one person from the crowd when it was not a virtual but a normal kind of an event. So it's a good question, and maybe just by this example, I think it's fairly similar for us here at Kraken. Being remote first means that our hires need to have that owner's mentality, need to be a self-starter, and need to be very proactive when it comes to solving problems for the company. Crypto never sleeps, so you have to love and breathe the whole industry, and be definitely pushing the boundaries and be hardworking in order to make it at Kraken. And I think the last one is to be a good problem solver. I think because the industry itself is still in its early stages, there are a lot of problems out there that no one else has solved. So there's not a written playbook on how to actually crack it. So we definitely need people who don't take no for an answer, and people that are able to break down complex problems into smaller parts in order to be able to solve it.
Crack it at Quaken. I like that.
Exactly.
That's almost a tweetable phrase there. Now, Timo, your audio was cutting out a little bit. I hope we have better luck, and maybe just 2 or 3 traits succinctly that an amazing candidate should have.
Absolutely, and apologies for that. I hope that the key points of the Brazil expansion came across. Talking around hiring, I think one thing we're especially on the lookout for is really that drive. And I think it gets to the point that Jakub mentioned earlier around ownership, right? Really being that self-starter that drives the topics forward, specifically in an expansion background where I think not all of the rules of the game are yet clear in a new market. I think adaptability is key, even though when you set out a plan, it's definitely not going to be the plan that after a short time you realize will really kind of be set into motion. So from that side, being adaptable and also kind of run with the motion, roll with the punches. I think one other part that's really outstanding and important for us is empathy for the customer, especially if you're setting yourself up in a new context and building a product that is supposed to stand out. You always have to be on the hunt for understanding what can you do different and what are those pain points for customers that you can solve either in a better way or be actually the first one who's solving these pain points to then really differentiate yourselves from the players that already exist.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, I love the adaptability one. That is so key. And being more customer focused as well goes back to your personalization vision. So let me finish. I couldn't do this session without talking about COVID. So let's very briefly, because we've pretty much run out of time here. I want to finish with how has the new normal helped you and your business to innovate and grow on 3 levels. So we're talking about positive stuff here. We want nice stories, right? Because we've had a year of crap stories. So 3 levels, meaning you on a personal level, on a company level as well, and also on an industry level, so FinTech in general. So maybe I'll start with Jakub for that.
Yeah, sure. So I think on the personal level, definitely having much more time spent together with my girlfriend, I would say is the most important factor. Together with definitely watching after my diet. So I switched into a no carbs, almost no carbs diet, which is way easier to sustain if I'm working at home rather than just eating outside. So I think I would say these 2 things on a personal level. As mentioned before, on the company level, just because Kraken was remote first, way before the COVID has hit, it did not have that much big of an impact for the overall company, and it was pretty much business as usual. What I really appreciate is that these kind of company-wide initiatives that we had that were really supporting people in these really hard times. So we, for example, have launched a program in which we were hiring people that were very close relatives to our current employees that found themselves in a hard situation because of COVID, and we had to solve a problem of very big growth spikes, and we had to also hire people very fast. So we were having this program where you could actually refer your very close relative to help us with this massive growth spike and become a team member at Kraken. At the industry level, we are also as a company benefiting from the fact that digital assets and cryptocurrency and Bitcoin itself is at a couple of years high when it comes to its price currently. I think we are seeing more and more initiatives within digital assets that are really taking off and are going to become the new way of handling money, which is, for example, decentralized finance, which was probably the hottest topic to discuss a couple of weeks back. We see governments that are already issuing their own stable coins, like the US digital dollar, like the digital yuan. So it's already becoming a reality. So I think this is great for the industry itself and also for Kraken. Seeing bigger companies such as Square or MicroStrategy that very openly are saying that they are investing a big part of their assets into Bitcoin because they see that this is the future. So I would say overall, the 2020 pandemic has speeded up massively the adoption of digital assets, and it's great to be in the center of this innovation.
Yeah, what an interesting time. Even I'm going to go open up a Bitcoin. That's one thing that's going to come from this session, I'm telling you. Timo, let me ask you the same question, if I may. The new normal, how's it changed you personally, and the impact on the company, and then generally in FinTech? Where are you seeing changes? Good changes.
Absolutely. So I think on a personal level, definitely the lockdown forced me to also, I think, reprioritize a little bit how I'm spending my time. I want to say I'm quite a social animal usually, and just being forced like to cut a little bit back on these social connections, especially early in the year, also gave me a good time for like some good thinking, some clarity of thought around really what is it that matters to oneself and how am I going to allocate my time. And I think interestingly, similar to what Jakub said, quite some thinking and experiments on the diet, on like also physics and in the general sporting activity. So from that perspective, a couple of good personal developments and reflections made. I think from a company perspective, where we were not yet, I think remote first. I think a push towards remote and really enabling and setting our organization up to really excel in that environment and also build those infrastructures was definitely something that we achieved throughout 2020, which obviously for those offices like the US, which are not close to the headquarter from a time zone perspective, obviously is a great benefit and makes it just so much easier to collaborate. And I think then from an industry side, similar to what Jakub was saying, the overall openness towards trying digital solutions that you can open just from either your bank, from your computer or from your smartphone is just so much higher if things like bank branches are closed. And I think from that side, this curiosity helped us really selling our products in a better fashion.
Amazing. So Timo, Jakub, thank you for sharing your personal, your company, and insights about the industry with us today. I've loved it. I've enjoyed it. Thank you so much, guys.